Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar where we will have a discussion with El-Massria Integrated School about how they've implemented Study Island to support teaching and learning. It's going to be a really good discussion and I'm delighted and excited to say that I am joined by Noha, who is the English Department Coordinator at the school, and she's generously given up her time to share with you their story and answer questions about how they've utilised Study Island in their school. So first of all, I would like to pass over to Noha, who will talk a little bit about herself and then the school. So Noha, after you.
Okay, thank you. My name is Noha. I am an English teacher. I have been an English teacher for 22 years. I graduated from the Faculty of Education, Department of English. I have a bachelor degree in ELT, and I also have a special diploma in curriculum and pedagogical methods in ELT from the same faculty. And I'm now working as the English Department Coordinator in El-Massria American School. And I also worked as an educational content creator and developer.
Great.
As for our school, El-Massria Integrated Schools was established in 2002 in 10th of Ramadan City. This is also where I live. The school aims, especially the American division, aims at providing a high quality education for our students, and it is led by the chairman, the CEO, Dr. Nagy Abdel Hussein. He's also the owner of the school, and the American division, the principal of the American division is Dr. Ashraqat Salim, and we have the grade level in our school is from PK to 12, and the most interesting thing about our school is that it is accredited by Cognia, and I think that's it.
Thanks, Noha. Yeah, and that's really good. So one of the things, and the reason we're speaking today, is that the school have implemented Study Island. And for those who don't know what Study Island is, it's a K-12 solution that has over 600,000 questions within it. It's based on the American Common Core. There's lots of different features within it that you can use, but it's really good for test preparation, but also building your own tests and group work as well. But that's what we're going to be discussing today. We've come with some questions for you, Noha. And the first one I'd like to ask is, why did you initially implement Study Island?
Okay, as a matter of fact, Dr. Ashraqat and Mr. Amin, the previous English department coordinator, searched for a platform that provides a good support for our students to get prepared for exams and to supplement our curriculum or our books. And they found that Study Island is a very well-organized platform with a variety of questions, a variety of levels, the lessons that are provided with videos, illustrative pictures. All of that helps students to self-learn, and this is very good for agency, because students' agency is one of our purposes in our schools, to achieve students' agency, and this with this Study Island is really helpful and beneficial. The most important reason for implementing Study Island or choosing Study Island was that it is aligned with Common Core State Standards, which is our main or let's say fundamental curriculum that we depend on in English, math, and science. So that is basically why we started or initially implemented Study Island.
Okay, so it was important then to have a program that students could self-study, but also it needed to be Common Core aligned, so that if they were self-studying,
yes, exactly, they can depend totally on themselves. It creates an independent student guided by the teacher, and this is our ultimate target, to create a generation who are not dependable. Not dependent. We need them to be independent. We need them to work on their own with the guide of their teachers, and that's what Study Island helps them to do. They have their own accounts. They can access. They can work. We assign them two skills or two topics to work on, and they get to the lesson, maybe the teacher can explain, but then they practice the major reason for study island to be helpful for self-studying is that it explains itself. When you answer a question, you find it gives you whether the answer is correct or incorrect. Then it gives you an explanation for whether it is correct or incorrect, which is really helpful for the students.
Yeah, definitely. So in terms of then the students, they do self-study, but I guess they also use it in the classroom. So what sort of systems and techniques have you put in place to ensure that your students use study islands in the classroom and elsewhere?
The good thing about study island, it doesn't require much to implement, which means you don't need much. You don't need a lot of requirements. All you need is a good internet connection and the devices for the students, and this is already available. So the systems, we have smart interactive boards for students to interact and work on their own. They can answer questions. It's really fun to have that inside the class, questions posted on the screen, and students having team competitions, going to the smart board, clicking on the correct answer, and then having fun with, especially with the sound that the system, the study island gives when they give the correct answer. It's like a harmony, so they like it a lot, a harmonica, I'm sorry. So all we need is smart interactive boards, stable and dependable network, and availability of personal devices usage, and we have that. We allow students to use their devices with, we provide them with network, stable network, which works pretty good. As for the techniques, it helps us a lot with innovative techniques such as station rotation, blended learning, hybrid learning. Just name the new technique or the innovative technique, and you will find Study Island really helpful with that, because it works with collaboration, with individual work, with station rotation, while some students, or the center where students use technology, they use Study Island. And it also really helpful when we have hybrid learning, especially during the pandemic, during the lockdown. Students, we had some students here in the school and other students at home, fearing to come to school. So we had hybrid classrooms. While some students worked here and some students worked at home, Study Island helped us a lot during that time because it's accessible. Students can access Study Island wherever they are. I hope I made myself, I hope I answered.
Yeah, no, that was really interesting. Yeah, definitely. And those techniques are really great. The station rotation and blended learning, that sort of thing. Are those quite new to you as a school, or are those techniques you've been using for quite some time?
Yes, we have been using those techniques since I have worked here. I've been working here for 5 years now, and we've been implementing those techniques and more during all the time. And we have several other techniques like PPL and active learning and several other techniques, but I mentioned those techniques that we use Study Island, where Study Islands helped us the most, specifically with station rotation. Because in station rotation, you have different stations. In each station, each center, a group of students is doing something, working on a task. One of the centers is usually using technology. Students using technology, and the best choice that they work on is usually Study Island, because it has it all and it is aligned with our curriculum. So we have, for example, any skill, name the skill, let's say figurative meaning. So students will answer questions about figurative meaning while other students in other centers doing something else, and then we rotate.
That's really good. That's brilliant. And with that, then, what responses have you had from teachers who use Study Island?
Actually, we've got very positive responses from teachers all along the 5 years that the 3 years that we have been using Study Island. I'm one of the teachers who used it for teaching 7, 8, 9, and 10, 11, and 12. So I've taught several grades using Study Island, and I can say that it is the most effective platform I have ever used, and I have used plenty. The unique thing about Study Island is that it is very organized, easy to access. You doesn't get lost when you use Study Island, neither the students nor the teachers. The variety of selections there, you have informational texts, you have literature, you have grammar, you have phonics, so you have it all. It's also easy to assign homework, which is really helpful. It's not very, let's say, helpful for us teachers to assign written homework in booklets or in books, because it's a hazard. You have to ask students to carry the books back and forth. Having a platform like Study Island helps us avoid that problem. Students can stay at home, their books can stay in the lockers in the school, and they can access from home answering questions. They can also reach the explanation for the wrong answers or the incorrect answers, and the motivation that they get when they get the blue ribbons in general. It's really helpful for them. It's really cheerful, especially for little age or younger ages. They get really, they enjoy getting the ribbons. They feel that they achieved something.
Yeah.
Also, it is complementary to our reading book. Whatever the book is, it is complementary because it supplements with practice, the practice part. The lesson section is really sufficient because it provides explanation, which is really simple and really clear and obvious for students to understand. As I said before, helpful in self-learning. It helps students be independent learners. It's also an amazing assistant for the teacher when it comes to practice, especially with the practice part. I will not tell a secret when I say sometimes teachers are absent for any reason. It happens when you have a substitute teacher in the class. It's really helpful to have Study Island is supportive because they will easily use it to start practicing on a skill or reviewing a skill. It's really helpful. Also, the writing assignments are very important. It checks the grammatical mistakes sometimes, and it provides teachers and students with the ability to check and send it back to the students to check their answers, check their mistakes.
Yeah. And you mentioned there about blue ribbons, and just to explain for those who don't know, when Study Island, when you master something in Study Island, you get a blue ribbon for it.
Yes, sure.
And schools, lots of different schools use those in different ways, but as you say, it's a really nice way to get the students feeling enthused to keep on learning.
Really motivation.
Yeah, so that's really good to hear, and you've had some fantastic responses. I was looking over the usage actually, and I saw that you used the group sessions feature quite a lot over the last year. Could you tell us a little bit about them, how you use them, and how the students respond to the group sessions?
Yes, absolutely. When inside the session, we reach the practice part, I ask my students to get out their devices and I divide them into groups, sometimes individual, sometimes teams, but they prefer teams. Team mode. Then I create the session. It's easy, really easy to create. I choose the skill that I want them to practice, and then I set a goal for them, maybe 70% or 80% or 100% if I want to challenge them. But normally, usually I use 70% to get it to be attainable. And they log in. Using their credentials, they have their own accounts. Each one joins with his or her credentials, and then I start the session. It's like a race, and we have 3 different modes of a group session. We have the race, and we have the challenge, and we have the checkpoint. The checkpoint is mostly for assigning a competition, a non-competition, actually assigning a skill or a practice to work on at home. For later. It's not something that we use usually in class. As for the challenge, it's really useful, but it has only one problem. They have to have can't say a problem, but I will just mention the difference between the race and the challenge. The good thing about the race, they don't need to look at the screen, the small board. They have the questions, the passages and the questions on their phones or devices. While the challenge mode posts the question on the smart board and I click go. Once I click go, they have to provide the answer, and they have the choices, the 4 choices on their devices. This is why we usually prefer race, but sometimes we use challenge because it looks a little bit, it works well with students when we have live competitions, when students want to jump and go and go to the screen, and it's more live. But the race mode is more for higher high school or middle school, because teenage students don't like to jump or go to the screen. They would like to just stick to the devices. Okay, these are the 3 modes. At the end, we have like the picture that you have on the screen here. We have the top 3 positions. The good thing about the race, it gives you an update of how each team is going or how each team is doing. It gives you the points that they are achieving or they are gaining. It's really fun, and the students have fun having this race. It's like it's also a competition, not just practice. So it makes the session more vivid.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. I hope I made it clear.
Yeah, absolutely. And is it, I guess these are a little bit different to the things we've been talking about sort of during station rotation, that sort of thing. How do the students enjoy this sort of different challenge?
It's different than station rotation. In station rotation, it's not a competition, or it's not just practice. It's a task that they are doing, and one center is doing the practice on study island, while the other 3 or 4 centers are doing something else on the same scale. While the competition involves the whole class. All the class are competing against each other. We have the Tiger group, or for example here, like Silver Hornet or Dr. Duck or Space Snow, or whatever title they give, or the nickname they give their teams. And the teams are competing against each other. It's like a marathon. This is why it's more fun. It's totally different than station rotation, but it's another technique of collaborative work.
And do the teachers find it useful as well in terms of
definitely.
The results?
Yes, sure. Especially that students actually discuss the answer before providing it. So the team, if the team is consists of 3 members or 4 members, the 3 or the 4 students are discussing the answer to make sure that the answer is correct, which is really good for students to have this collaborative work.
Yeah, and it goes back to that independent learning, I guess, as well.
Yes, exactly.
Doing that collaboration. And then in terms of test preparation, then, how do you use Study Island for that and your assessment needs?
Yes, that's the most, let's say, most beneficial, or most benefit that we get from Study Island. Because as you can see here, this is how you create a quiz on Study Island. You can actually quiz students. This is really helpful for formative assessment inside the class, and the summative assessment and the interim assessment during the quarter. We have 3 formal quizzes during each quarter. The 3 quizzes can be done online on Study Island. We can do that inside the class using devices, or we can go to the computer lab, like the map test. So it's really similar to the map test, which is not only diagnostic, but it's test preparation. This helps students prepare or get familiar with the type of questions that they will see in the exam, and also prepares high school students for the type of questions that they will see in the ACT or SAT, the SAT or the ACT. This is how Study Island helps students to get prepared, because they see the type of questions that are similar to the ones that we will see later. Passage question, higher order thinking question, choices to choose from, multiple choice questions. So this is how it goes. It also assigning homework or classwork on Study Island helps students to practice. When they practice a lot, they make it becomes easy for them to identify their mistakes, identify their weakness points. This is a very good preparation for assessment. As I told you before, formative assessment, interim assessment, summative assessment, whatever type of assessment, you get your students well prepared just by assigning them to answer questions on Study Island. As you can see, there is a passage here, and these are the choices, and this is the question. The quiz itself is active for students. And we use this sometimes as a simulation for the exam. We do it once every quarter with each class to prepare students for exams.
Okay, yeah. So you're really using it in a lot of different ways, which is really good. And then you mentioned there about building quizzes and building tests. So how do you use that in your school? And what have you found the benefits to be of those?
Okay. Actually, the Study Island has ready-made questions for us. We don't need to add anything, to add or remove. All we need to do is to go to the build test, the library, choose or pick the program, which is for us the US program, because we are an American school, and then we go to the Common Core. For example, grade 7 Common Core. We choose the skills that we want to test our students in. So, for example, this quarter we're testing our students on 10 different standards, 10 different skills. We choose the 10 skills from the list provided, and we choose the number of questions that we would like. We pick questions, and this is another good gadget. We choose only the questions that we want to add to our test, and we uncheck the other questions that we might save for later. And the good thing about this is that these questions are unseen. Students haven't seen them before. They are not part of the practice part that they let's say trained to before. So using an unseen list of or library of questions is helpful for us teachers to come up with questions that students have never seen before. You see, some students can easily memorize questions by practice. So when you get questions that are not seen, it's really helpful for us. Also, it's easy to you provide printable sheets, which is also easy for us if we want to test our students on paper. We can have printable test built, or if we choose to test our students online, we also have online tests ready for us. So either ways, there are plenty of resources on Study Island.
That's really good. And yeah, when I speak to schools, especially internationally, this feature is quite useful because it can really tailor it not just to what you need, but because you can tailor it to what your needs are, basically from a local school standpoint, as well as having the knowledge that it is Common Core.
Exactly.
There. So any questions you set are going to be related to the Common Core in some way. But yeah, it gives you a lot of flexibility.
Yes.
Yeah. And then what suggestions and moving on and recommendations do your students have to get the most from Study Island?
Well, I usually survey my students at the beginning of each year on their experience the previous year. And I got many responses from my students and students here in the school in general. Mostly they like Study Island as a platform for practice. They actually consider it as the only way that we can use to study English. To tell you the truth, not all students like to study English. It's not their cup of tea. Yeah, you know that English is not their cup of tea. But anyway, for everyone actually. But anyway, they mentioned that the only way to practice English is to practice on Study Island because they don't have any other choice. We don't teach content, so their curriculum book, their reading book, for example, is not helpful for them. Yeah, it's helpful for studying, for reading, but it's not helpful for studying for the exam or preparing for the exam. So that is why they find Study Island their best way to practice at home for the exam or prepare for the exam. But on the other hand, my high school students, grade 10, 11, and 12, are eager to find a section on Study Island specified for preparation for their standardized tests, SAT and ACT. They think that it would be really helpful for them to find, let's be clear here, The questions are helping them to get familiar with the type of questions they find in the standardized tests, but still they need an allocated section specific for ACT preparation and SAT preparation. This is the only suggestion that I find applicable, I think, and can be done. And let me say a very positive note here that I think every time I have a meeting with the developmental team of Study Island, I find changes upon my notes, which is really, let's say, satisfying, because the updates that happen on the platform along the year makes it more helpful for us. They are not stiff. They are not stiff. They are not. I don't know. Stubborn. No, they change upon our remarks. They move forward with the platform, and which is really really good, because every note that we discuss is for the benefit of the platform and the users, the schools that use the platform.
That's really good. And one question I actually have on top of that as well is about the support that you get. So you mentioned that you provide that feedback, but how has the support been with using Edmentum, with training and so on?
Every meeting that we have with the developmental team, we discuss some points to refresh our minds on the major concerns that we have, and we find some common ground. Sometimes the notes are, let's say, not very logical. Sometimes we suggest things that can be done, applicable, and sometimes they cannot be logical. But we come up with a plan together, and we had several trainings. I think I attended 2 training opportunities before, and my team attended 2. Which is really good, especially when we have new staff or when we have newcomers, new teachers. It's really helpful to have someone to train them. And actually, because I'm one of the fans of Study Island, I do that. I train my staff when I have a new teacher. I train them, new teachers. I train them on how to use Study Island, which is not very big a deal. And it's easy to use it.
That's really good. Well, I'm glad you're a big fan. Sounds like
yeah,
it.
I am. I am. I've been known to be a big fan of Study Island since I started using it. Even Mr. Amin, the previous English coordinator, told me that I was his this platform big fan.
Brilliant. Well, thank you, Noha. It was really interesting to hear a bit more about your school and how you've used Study Island. And it sounds like you're using it in a lot of different ways for different uses, which is just what we want to hear. If anyone watching wants to get a little bit more information, on the screen here, you've got an email address, website, and socials that you can contact us on. So please get in touch if you want to see a little bit more, learn a little bit more. But for now, I just want to say a huge thank you to you, Noha, for going through that and for taking the time to speak to us.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I hope that I wasn't mumbling or
No, it's perfect.
A lot. I'm sorry.
Thank you.